Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Michael.
Hello, and I'm Carl-Johan.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about censorship in games. As I believe everyone who's watching this play games. And play violent games, we play kid-friendly games, whatever. But sometimes not every country has these features in their games.
No, sometimes they're removed. Sometimes they're censored. And today we're going to be talking about why they do this and why we think that they do this, of course.
So first of all, here are some examples we're going to show you. The first example is from the game Mortal Kombat for the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. As you can see, the difference between the Genesis version and the Super Nintendo version is the Super Nintendo doesn't have any blood. Instead they have sweat, as they call it. But Genesis still has blood in it. The second game is from Earthbound for the Super Nintendo. The picture on the left shows the main character Ness in his pajamas, and the other picture to the right shows him without his pajamas.
The third picture is actually of the game The Last of Us. The Last of Us has been censored in the multiplayer version. In the multiplayer version in North America, you can blow off heads and other stuff like legs in the multiplayer. So if you have, for example, like a bomb, you can blow off the person's leg. But in the European version, it is censored. And by in this, I mean that you cannot blow off any head or blow off any leg, or etc. And the fourth one is the South Park Stick of Truth game. In this game, there is a very inappropriate scene where, well, you do kind of what should I say, like an abduction of some sort, and it's been censored in the European version. And, well, some other scenes too.
Basically, it's a scene where your main character gets probed by aliens, and they don't want to show that to us Europeans. Why? I don't know. Now, why did the developers do this to some of the games? Well, for Nintendo, back in the day, they had this, well, they still do in some games. They have this kid-friendly policy where no blood or any, how do you say, mature violence. It cannot be on a Nintendo console. So in Mortal Kombat, they removed blood, but to still keep the blood in some way, they had sweat instead. And the game also featured fatalities where you basically kill your opponent when he's out of health. Well, instead of in like the Genesis version, they impale them on spikes, or they fall in acid and stuff like that. Nintendo just completely removed that. Instead of getting impaled in a spike, they just fall in between the spikes. In Earthbound, they censored a lot of stuff. There's a scene where you find a blues band playing in a theater. They originally they wear black suits and black hats. Well, when they put it over to America, they thought that they looked too similar to the Blues Brothers, who also wore black clothes. So instead they changed it to red and green clothes. Some other stuff are also the music in the game sounded very much like Beatles music or other popular bands at the time. And also religious stuff like the hospitals. Originally they had the Red Cross, but in the American version it does not have the Red Cross anymore, because of the cross symbolizes Christianity and other religious stuff in the game.
Yeah. And also in other games, what is the thing that you almost not that maybe in almost every game, but in a lot of games there are gore. And well, some people are offended by gore, and I still think that America as a culture accepts more of these weird things than maybe countries like Germany and Japan. The thing is that I think a lot of censorship is based around the country's history. Like for example, Germany and Japan is ashamed of because of World War II, so that's why they censor a lot of things that could be linked to World War II. For example, in the game Fallout 3 there's a mission where you're supposed to blow up a whole city with a nuclear bomb. This mission has been banned in Japan because of similarities to the nuclear bomb that was dropped over Nagasaki in the end of World War II.
But in America, they're like, hallelujah, 4th of July.
Let's do this! Merc. Other things is that in the German version of World War II games, they have censored the swastikas, which is instead an iron cross, and pictures of Hitler is displayed as someone else in the Luftwaffe, which is the German Air Force. Well, then again, what are our thoughts? Well, in my opinion, I think you should have the option to choose whether you want it to be censored or not. Because if we censor too much, that's like hiding it from people. If you know what I mean. If, for example, you censor a game and, well, the North American don't censor it. I mean, if we take a look at some dictatorships, they censor a lot. I mean, like for North Korea, they censor everything outside the world. And I think that if you censor too much, it's gonna affect people, and people are gonna try to find, well, the uncensored version instead. So why not have like an option to, this game has a lot of gore in it. If you want to censor it, well, give them an option to do it, of course. Like for example, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has an option to choose if there's a very violent level where you go into an airport and massacre a lot of people. And in the beginning of the game, you have an option to choose whether you want to play this mission or not.
Another example in the Call of Duty genres, more the Treyarch Call of Duties, like Call of Duty Black Ops and World at War, which features a lot of gore. But there's also an option before you begin playing the game. You can choose to turn off graphic material in the game, which gets rid of the gore. I would guess less blood.
Yeah, I think there's no blood at all.
And some dialogue becomes changed too. Yeah. Instead of saying like they say darn or something like that.
Yeah. They censor the swearing. And I can understand that a bit, but I mean the game is from 18 plus. I mean you need to be 18 years old to play it, but still there are kids that buy it, and like there are like 12 years old or something. I mean kids are not supposed to play the game first of all. I mean really, what's the point? I mean sure, some people can get very offended, I get that. But I mean, as I said before, there should be an option, but still it's an 18-year-old plus game. And they should expect the gore.
Yeah. Myself, I don't exactly have an opinion on the censorship. As you said, you think that the censoring removes the real game in a way. But like gore and blood, it doesn't exactly change the game itself. It just removes the blood stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I seen like in the new game, South Park: The Stick of Truth, they removed the entire scenes where inappropriate stuff happens. I don't really get why they censored it for Europe, but Americans still get that scene. I don't exactly know why that happens.
I mean, it's all Europeans. It's not only in Germany that they censor the version. It's the whole Europe. And maybe that has something to do with the UN or something else. I really don't know why they would.
We don't know, but sometimes I think there are unnecessary censorships in games, but all the other games, I don't exactly have an opinion if it's censored. As long as it doesn't, like South Park, removes entire scenes at least give me an option to see the scene.
Yeah. I think, as I said before, that you always are supposed to have the opinion, and you get to choose whether you want to play the censored bit or not. Because if you censor it at all, like they say strictly, no, you cannot play this, then I mean, it takes away from the experience, of course. Maybe not that much from the experience, but I mean, people are still gonna be, I mean, still, people are gonna ship the game here from Europe, or from North America to Europe, because they want to play and see the scene, well, or go online and watch it on YouTube. Because, I mean, really, if you censor it, there's other way to get a hold of it. I mean, there's things on YouTube and the internet, and you can ship the game to Europe and Sweden from America. So, I mean, you can still get a hold of the censored version, even though
The uncensored.
uncensored.
Even if your version of the game is censored, there are other means to get the uncensored stuff.
Yeah.
So, my thought is, why censor it if it's gonna get uncensored anyway?
Yeah, of course.
People
That's
will
the thing.
get a hold of the uncensored stuff if they have a censored.
Yeah, that's why I think it needs to be a little bit more freely, like
A
you
bit more freedom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You get the option to say, here, you can play this if you want to, but there's a bit of nudity or gore, for example. And well, if you're offended by it, fine. Don't just choose the option. No, I don't want to play it. Or if you don't get offended by it, sure, I can play it. I mean, why not?
I don't know exactly if, but like in Germany or Japan where they censored gore stuff, maybe they should go with this. They should do the thing that the Genesis version of Mortal Kombat did. I think that if it's so strict to not have gore or a lot of blood in those kinds of games, but instead of just show the option where you can turn it off or on, have like a secret code or something, so it's hidden. The stuff is still there, but it's hidden, and not like, well, I'm gonna buy this game, oh, it's censored, I just go to the options menu and turn the censor stuff off. Is that if it is so strict, well, at least have it hidden so they can access it. Maybe like if you complete the game on this difficulty or have a secret code. They did that before, it worked, so why shouldn't it work now?
Yeah, because I always think that people will all still be able to get a hold of the game, even if it is. I mean, people will still get the uncensored game in some way or the other.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no get a hold of it. I still think that Americans are still more used to seeing and hearing about violence. It's almost everywhere. It's in games, movies, music, and even out in the open street. Although it's still hard to say why they tend to censor video games and violent games, of course. It may have to do with a certain religion that might get offended, or that they censor things to keep the age ratio down. Like, for example, in the game Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe, they censored some violence to keep down the age rating for teen. So now it's 12 or higher. America's a lot more easy going against censorship in games than the rest of the world. In one of our website sources, polymac.com, they state that censoring games in America is like being in a dictatorship, where the government censors things that they don't want you to see. The land of the free, as they say, is not maybe that free at all. Also, they discussed that you don't usually see any movies in America getting censored. It's almost only in games. They state and say that this may be because of that when the player plays a violent game, they feel more in control than they would be in a movie. It's the perspective of things. In a movie, you aren't being portrayed as being in charge of maybe murdering someone. It's the character in the movie that does it. But in the game, you are the person in the game, so that makes you murder someone. It's a bit of hypocrisy. Alright, so what does the future look like? Well, it's really hard to say, because, I mean, if you look at it, I mean, there's not really much to go on. I mean, it may continue, or it may stop. I mean, it's really hard to tell, because I think that in the future there's this thing that maybe you will censor more things, or maybe you won't. I mean, it's hard to tell, because if you look at today's society, it's basically, well, here in Sweden, we don't really censor much, if you look at it. So I don't really think that in Sweden it's gonna change a lot. But in the North America, maybe, I mean, they're really not that strict too. So I think it will continue, and it'll be the same like here in Sweden. I mean, nothing will really change. I mean, they're not gonna censor things like that. Maybe in Japan and Germany, they will continue to do and censor things, but maybe not for long, because if they, I mean, someday it's gonna change. At least that's what I think in Germany and Japan. I mean, it's really hard to tell, because someday it will change. And when that day happens, I mean, maybe they don't forget about the things that happened in World War II. It's more that they maybe accept it more. It's hard to tell.
I would think that maybe, how do I say this? They won't exactly censor stuff like remove gore. Maybe they will change the game. Like I played a game not so long ago. It's a rhythm game for the Wii console, and I watched some gameplay of it beforehand, before it released here in Sweden. And I was reading the text and all that stuff in the game. When I finally got the game, I noticed that the texts in the game were changed a little bit. Like one part in the game it says like Remix 1, but on my version it says First Remix. So they don't censor it, they just change the stuff.
Yeah.
Why, I don't exactly know, but also, yeah, it's also kind of like in the game there's a song, in the American version it sounds one way, but in the European version you can change between the English version and the Japanese version. And if you play the Japanese version of the song, it goes faster and the rhythm in the music is off.
Whoa, 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 I'm just a man missing you. Please understand, without you, I'm dying. Whoa, 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 男は missing you. 寂しい always blue, crying.
I think censoring will, in conclusion, be less.
Yeah, it will.
The longer we go,
it'll
forward.
be less frequently, maybe.
Yeah, less frequent censoring and more maybe like changes.
Yeah.
What the that sound?
What the sound?
Yeah, but yeah, I think maybe in the future less censoring and more like less harmful changes in the game, which doesn't exactly change the whole game, just maybe a dialogue or two.
Yeah, but here's the thing, that we talked a lot about gore before, but I mean, there's this thing with swearing. I mean, and swear words. I mean, I don't really know if that maybe will be censored all the time. Swear words. Do you think that? Because
I think swear words. I think why swear words get censored is because of religious connections to the words. Because I think one of the more common swear words are like other words for Satan, stuff like that.
But maybe
maybe it's because of a religious thing why those kind of words get censored. So if in the future religion is still a big thing, then I think the swear words will still be censored in a way. But if religion doesn't have much, how do I say, impression on the world, then maybe they will keep the swear words.
Yeah. But here's the thing, I don't really think that everyone who swears are not religious. I mean, I think that some people just find it bad to be swearing.
Yeah, but I think it's more because of I think it's because of religious
Yeah, I mean,
connection.
for example, like God damn it. I mean,
Yeah, God damn it,
yeah.
you can't, because I think there's like you can't have God's name
Yeah.
and say a swear word after it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I just think that some people just find swear words bad, and well, they sound bad, and they just don't want to hear it. But I mean, in
I think-
today's society, it's more common to hear swear words. Like, for example, you're not. I mean, it's not a. Well, some people swear at home, and I mean, if you look back like 40, 50 years, I don't think that really nobody sweared at the time when they were at home. Well, maybe. Well, of course, it depended on the parents, what parents you had. I mean, some parents allowed you to swear at home and some didn't. But I mean, it's getting more common to swear at home and it gets more accepted. So maybe it will also drag off in games so they don't censor it either.
yeah.
Hmm.
So the future,
The
don't really know what will happen. It could be either way. We don't exactly have a
It's really hard to say.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
well,
yeah,
that concludes today's podcast. Thank you for watching.
I've been Michael.
And I've been Carl-Johan. Bye.